Welcome everyone. Today I am going to be diving into a core business analysis skill, which is writing clear and effective business requirements. So whether you are new to the business analyst world or you just want to level up, this section is packed with examples and tips that you can use right away. So what are we going to be covering today? In today's section, our first will start with the basics, which is what is business requirements? What are they really? And why are they so important? Then I will take a look at what makes requirements strong versus weak and how you can use the SMART criteria to tighten your writing of requirements. Then I will walk you through a simple step-by-step process that you can follow to write better requirements every time. You're also going to see some before and after examples so you can spot the difference between vague and effective language. I'm also going to be sharing a few tips that I've learned from being in the business analyst world, and then I'll call out some common mistakes that you would want to avoid. So by the end of today's section, you're going to leave with practical tools and a new level of confidence to start writing business requirements like a pro. So this section is designed to be both practical and beginner friendly. So by the end, you'll feel way more confident in your ability to write effective business requirements. So let's define what a business requirement is, or what are business requirements. Business requirements describe what the business is trying to achieve. They are the bridge between a business challenge and the solution we aim to build. It is not about the technology or the design details just yet. It is about understanding the business goal. For example, a business requirement could be reduce customer support calls time by 25% within 6 months. That tells us what success will look like from the business point of view. These requirements guide everything that follows and help to ensure that all the stakeholders in this project will stay aligned. So let's think of them as the what behind the why that drives every successful project. Next, let's see why effective requirements really matter. If you've ever heard that that's not what is asked for during the project, you already know the pain of unclear requirements. Effective requirements eliminates confusions and helps every team member, from the developers to executives, to stay on the same page. So this helps them to prevent scope creep, reduce rework, and then help you to deliver exactly what the business needs faster and more cost effectively. Plus, when stakeholders see their needs reflected accurately in the documentation, it helps build trust and foster better collaboration. Also, it creates a shared understanding of what success looks like. So there is less back and forth during development, fewer surprises at testing, and ultimately a smoother path for delivery. So think of it as giving your project a roadmap and a compass at the same time. Ultimately, clear requirements are one of the biggest predictors of a successful project because they reduce risk, increase alignment, and keep everyone moving in the same direction always. Now, let's take a look at the difference between a good requirement and a bad requirement. Vague requirements are a recipe for disaster. They leave too much open to interpretation. When someone says something has to be user friendly, it might mean something entirely different to the developer, the business owner, and the end users. That kind of requirement sets the team up for confusion, delay, and rework. Look at the first example we have on this slide. The first example tells us almost nothing about what needs to be built. It lacks clarity, time sensitivity, and measurable criteria. But look at the second example with the good example. It says, now that's some clear something that a developer can build, a tester can validate, and a stakeholder can approve. The good example. It describes the exact action, the timing, and performance expectation. Think of it this way. A bad requirement creates questions while a good requirement answers those questions. It is time specific, it is quantifiable, and aligned with users' expectations. The clearer your words, the smoother your project will run, and the fewer surprises you hit during testing and delivery. Always aim to write requirements that are laser focused and leave no room for guesswork. So, let's take a look at the characteristics of a good requirement. A good requirement should be so clear that even someone outside of the project team could understand it without asking follow-up questions. If it causes confusion or requires interpretation, it is not ready. It is not a good requirement. The goal is to remove ambiguity so that everyone from the stakeholders to the developers to the testers can interpret it the same way. It should also be testable, which is meaning there is a clear way to verify if the requirement has been met or not. So for example, if the requirement says submit a request in under 2 minutes, the team can measure whether that is achieved. If it says easy to use, that is subjective and it's not measurable. Feasibility matters a lot too. We don't want to write requirements that sound great on paper but can't realistically be implemented within the given time frame, budget, or technical constraint. Traceability is also very important. Each requirement should tie directly to the business objectives. So when someone asks, why are we doing this? You should have a clear answer to why. And finally, make it user focused. Use language the stakeholder understand and avoid embedding the solution into the requirement. For instance, instead of saying use a drop down menu to select date, say this. Say the user shall be able to select a date. Let the design team figure out the best way to implement that. Keep it simple, focused, and aligned with the problem you're trying to solve always. So let's take a look at the use of SMART criteria in requirement documentation. So using the SMART framework helps you pressure test your requirements. It is a great mental checklist to make sure you are covering the essentials. When we write requirements that check all 5 boxes, we are far more likely to end up with a solution that hits the mark. So let me break it down for you. The S in SMART is specific. This forces you to describe exactly what needs to be done. Avoid vague words like optimize or improve. The M stands for measurable. If you can't test or measure the outcome, you can't confirm success. Add numbers, time frames, or measurable results. The A stands for achievable. We want to aim high, but the requirement should still be realistic within time and budget. And the R stands for relevant. Tie the requirement directly to a business goal or a stakeholder need. If it doesn't connect to the why, it might be an unnecessary requirement. And the T is time bound. Put a time frame or frequency on requirement. This helps with prioritization and testing. A requirement that is too general, like improve system performance, doesn't really help anyone. It is not specific enough or measurable. Instead, say something like reduce system load time by 30% within 3 months. This gives us a clear target we can actually test and track at the end of the 3 months. So each SMART component brings structure to your writing. Specific keeps you focused. Measurable ensures testability. Achievable keeps it grounded. Relevant ties it to the business outcome. And time-bound makes sure it is urgent. This technique is especially useful during stakeholder reviews. It helps to guide conversations and it ensures everyone understands the ask. So when a requirement meets all 5 SMART criteria, you can feel confident it is strong and its implementation ready. So let's talk about effective business requirements. Here is a simple but powerful process you can follow to write strong business requirement. First, start by identifying the business objective. This gives you a clear purpose and direction in your requirements. What are we trying to solve or improve? Ask that question. Next, engage with your stakeholders early. Get input from the people who are closest to the problem or will use the solution. This will help you capture the real needs, not just assumptions. Then ask clarifying questions. Don't be afraid to dig deeper. Sometimes what stakeholders say they want isn't exactly what they want. So always ask for the whys and the what ifs to uncover hidden requirements. Then when you draft your requirement, be very clear and concise. Avoid using jargons, stay focused and structure it in a way that is easy to understand and implement. After that, validate with your end users or key decision makers. Share the requirement and confirm that it reflects their expectations. And don't forget to revise based on feedback. It is normal for a requirement to go through a few iterations before it is finalized. Collaboration and clarity are the keys to success here in writing effective business requirements. Let's take a look at some sample requirements before and after. So let's do a little makeover here, right? The original version, which is the before, system should generate reports quickly, is super vague. How fast is quickly? What kind of reports? When should it happen? It leaves everyone guessing and creates room for misunderstanding. So now let's take a look at the improved version, which is the after. The system shall generate a monthly financial report in PDF format within 30 seconds of user request. Boom! We know exactly what's expected. It includes the type of report, how often it's generated, the format, and how long it should take. These extra details make the requirements useful to developers, testers, and business stakeholders alike. So notice how we have taken an ambiguous, the before example, phrase, and turned it into something concrete. The second, which is the after, is specific, it is measurable, it is achievable, it is relevant, and it's time bound. That is a perfect example of using the SMART criteria. Plus, it is something quality assurance can actually test and validate. This is a great example of how a few extra details can turn a fuzzy idea into something you can actually build, test, and deliver. Use this sample approach when next you're writing or refining your own requirements. Always ask, could something or someone take this sentence and confidently build something useful from it? If not, it needs to get work done. And remember, clear requirements aren't just helpful, they save time, money, and frustrations from everyone involved in the project. Next, Let's take a look at some tips from the field. Let's talk about what I will call real world wisdom. The things I have learned by actually writing requirements and reviewing them on projects. First, keep your language simple and user friendly. You're writing for a broad audience, not just the technical folks. Second, never assume. If something is unclear or based on a guess, write it down as an assumption and highlight it for the team. Assumptions can change, but at least you've captured them up front. Third, always include acceptance criteria. These are the measurable conditions that determines whether a requirement has been successfully met or not. It is not just enough to say what the system should do. Show how we'll know it is working correctly when writing requirements. It also helps to confirm your understanding early and often with stakeholders. Ask them to walk through the requirement with you. Paraphrase their input to ensure you captured the right meaning. And then finally, revisit your requirement. Things evolve during a project, and so should your documentation. A requirement that made sense at the kickoff might need tweaking halfway through. So stay flexible, but also stay very focused. Up next, we are going to be discussing some common mistakes that you should avoid when writing requirements. Even experienced business analysts actually fall into these traps, trust me. So it's totally normal if you catch yourself doing one or two. The key is to catch them early. One big one, writing too vaguely. Words like quickly, easily, or improve are very tempting, but they mean different things to different people. Your quickly can be another person's easily, right? So also avoid blending business and technical requirements into one statement. As a business analyst, your job is to describe what, not the how. Leave room for the technical team to propose the best solution. Skipping stakeholder reviews can really derail a project. Even if you think you have captured everything perfectly, it is essential that you validate your requirements with the people who will use the system or are directly affected by it. Another common one is not prioritizing your requirements. Not all requirements are equally important. Some are must-haves, while others are nice-to-haves. So if you treat them all the same, you risk missing deadlines or misallocating resources. Finally, don't forget edge cases or follow-ups. Requirements evolve. A requirement that made perfect sense during the discovery phase might need an update after testing or feedback. So always revisit and revise as needed. Continuous collaboration, as I mentioned before, is key. Remember that, okay? So next, we're going to be talking about how you can start getting ready to write a requirement like a pro. Writing great business requirement is part skill and part art, but it's 100% learnable. The more you practice, the more confident you'll become and the better your projects will run. So always aim for clarity, be relentless about asking great questions, and never underestimate the power of reviewing and refining your work. Treat every conversation with a stakeholder as a learning opportunity and don't be afraid to revisit what you have written. Remember, clear requirements drive successful outcomes. The more effort you put in upfront, the smoother the road will be later for you. So, if this section has helped you, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to my channel for more beginner-friendly breakdowns on business analysis and tech topics. And hey, share this with someone who needs to hear it too. You've got this, and I'm rooting for you. Thank you for joining me today.